It's on, isn't it? Yeah. Good evening. My name's John Davis. I'm director of the Strand Group. This is the 54th, that's right, Mark, isn't it? 54th Strand Group, and the last of this particular year. And what a great pleasure it is to do something, a little bit out of the ordinary. And I think ever since 2015, we've been doing more and more out of the ordinary. Ever since Ed joined the teaching staff, and this is certainly a departure for us. I couldn't be happier presenting this evening, and I've not got a lot more to say apart from when it comes to questions and answers, you've got to press your button in front of you. I don't know. I think you're missing one there. So no questions from you tonight, but you've got your little stalks and whatever. Anyway, without further ado, I'm going to pass over to Ed. Ed, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much indeed, John. Thank you to everybody for coming. This is the probably 6th or 7th different Strand group I've done over the last few years, but they've always, up till now, been either about Brexit or the Euro or central bank independence. And they've never been about food, family and politics. But the fact you've all come along tonight, even with the busy Christmas period, shows that clearly there's lots of interest in what we're going to talk about. And we made sure that as well as food and family, we have politics in the title. So that's what we're going to talk about. And we're going to steer our way through a conversation between the three of us, and then we'll throw it up to questions from the floor. Isn't that right, Rach?
I think so. But is there a clock so we know when to go to questions? What do you usually do, Ed?
I think we'll just
we'll wing it.
We'll
Okay.
feel it.
So the reason we're all three here is that we don't expect that you all were glued to an 8-hour series on BBC One, but Angela was one of the...
Well, we do. I mean, there's
Well,
nothing else to
I'm
do.
being
It's
modest.
a lockdown.
I'm being
Come
modest.
on.
Okay. In last September, we all gave up a few weeks of our lives to go and do a cookery show in Ealing Studios, and we all turned out, and obviously Ed was the champion. He's known as Chef Balls in our house, and Angela was one of the... she's one of the top chefs in the country, and along with Ed Balls and Chris Pavin, Angela basically taught me everything I know about cooking. She's unbelievably fierce. I did it because I'm a media tart, obviously, and I wanted to learn how to make tarts with Angela. Sorry, poor joke. But why did you guys end up doing it?
Well, I did. Well, I was supposed to be going to America, because I was booked by the BBC to do a film called Return to Trumpland, where I was supposed to be doing a 90-minute special to go out 2 days after the American election on how the Trump voters were feeling about Donald Trump through 2020, and to kind of see how they reacted to the election result. But of course, because of COVID, we couldn't go. We couldn't get visas. And then I had a call to say, I know you want to go and spend a month with Donald Trump and his supporters, and you can't go, but how about instead, the BBC said, spending a month in Ealing with Dame Mary Berry, Angela Hartnett and Chris Brevin. And I thought, well, this will be as culturally as surprising. And then, as you said, I kind of won, and Simon & Schuster came to me and said, do you want to do a book? And I said, well, I don't really think, cookbooks are written by Michelin-starred chefs rather than people like me. That's not really the right thing to do. And what they said was that back in 2021, the best-selling book in America at the end of the pandemic 100 years ago was a book by a politician called President Theodore Roosevelt, who wrote a book called Letters to My Children, which was his reflections on his kids growing up and what he'd taught them, what they'd taught him, the importance of family. And it struck this big chord with people. And they said, why don't you write a book about kind of family and growing up and politics, but actually just make food be part of it. And so family, food and politics was what I ended up writing a book about. And that only really happened because of that summer we spent together and the lack of American visas and the pandemic. So,
but also you have a gift that you give to your children when they go off to college, don't you?
Well, I did
sort
actually,
of,
which I showed you. Although my oldest daughter, the TV people said, would I show it on the in the final show? And I rang my daughter, and she said, absolutely not. this is.
That's
when
quite
she,
sweet, isn't
Yeah,
it?
exactly.
Very clear. She was when she was 18. We had said to her, what would she like for her birthday? And you know, I slightly worried she might ask for a car because we couldn't afford a car. And but she said what she would like is a collection of all the recipes I'd cooked in the first 18 years of her life. And Yvette and I totted them up, and it was about 64. And I wrote them all on my iPhone with a little intro about how to cook them. And then we collected photos, and we made a photo book. There's only 2 copies. She has one, and we have the other. And it's called Dishes for My Daughter, and which was our gift to her, so that she could have all of these recipes. And we've now done dishes for our son, and the third child's one will be in preparation. But she thought it was wrong for that to be shown on the programme.
Yeah, that is quite sweet, isn't it?
About our family, and I'm not public property, which is absolutely fine.
Yeah.
We've never mentioned their names. They've never ever been photographed ever in the papers. But that's where it came from.
Yeah.
Of course, the truth is the only reason why I wrote the book is because Yvette retired from cooking. Yeah. When our first daughter was born, basically on the day, and has never cooked since.
And she was completely vindicated, as you said, in that decision by the fact that you rose to the challenge. And you may have seen this. Ed actually made a pirate ship out of chocolate, and he was literally Willy Wonka. And I knew that the game was up, and he was going to have to win.
Oh no,
even though I was very competitive with him.
But that was the week with your cake.
Oh well, I dropped my cake, and Ed made a pirate ship. I mean, that was how that went.
Hard drama that day.
It is a very dramatic slide.
Yeah. Oh no! And also, everybody cried whenever Ed said things like, "I've made a book of before my daughter went to university, and I make this pirate ship for all my children." Everyone was just basically crying all the time. Yeah. The joy and wonder of Ed's family life, and obviously my family life isn't a cause for national weeping, apart from in some quarters. Nobody wants to know. Anyway.
It was actually, in some ways, it was much tougher than I expected it to be.
That was because of Angela.
Partly because of Angela and those ridiculous eliminators. Best home cook. Make kind of ravioli from scratch. What home cook makes ravioli from scratch?
I think you all did remarkably well.
We all have a little machine which we've been given for Christmas 10 years ago, which sits in a cupboard. And if you want ravioli, you buy it in a plastic packet because they make it so much better done professionally. But those tests were so hard.
I actually enjoyed the eliminators best, and because
Did you?
Yeah, because you had to be so focused. So this is what happened. One eliminator. I thought I'd never speak to you again. I was put in the eliminator, which meant I hadn't done very well. Edward, were you in the crab?
I was in a few eliminators.
Angela stands up and she says, "Right, Rachel, Ed, whoever else, I want you to make fresh crab ravioli from scratch with," and then she'd go on a bed of fennel, and you'd think, with a citrus dressing. You have 30 minutes. And we started, I promise you, with a pile of flour.
I think I gave them more than 30 minutes. I think she's exaggerating.
It could have been 35.
Anyway,
and the thing about it was that the gap between being told that's what it was and the start of the test was maybe a minute and a half.
Yeah.
So it all just happened immediately. So it was really hard.
But honestly, we had three. You won that eliminator.
Honestly, I am prouder of my crab ravioli than I am of anything else in my life. I really am.
I almost had a disaster on the crab ravioli because I've never ever used a pasta machine before.
Nor had I.
And there was no instructions about how to do it. And when it rolls out, it's sort of concertinas. And this was happening. And I thought, well, that looks quite good. It's probably supposed to concertina.
It stick together.
So it stuck together.
Yeah,
and of course, you have to flour and you have to pull. So basically, I suddenly realised with 6 minutes to go, or 7 minutes to go in this eliminator, that it had basically stuck together. So the only thing to do was to re-roll.
And then roll it out again.
And so I was right up against the clock.
Don't know.
What neither of them are telling you is how competitive they all were. We came into it having done a series with the general public, and then it was the celebrities. And I have to say, honest hand on heart, when we got the list through, there was a few that I was like, who on earth are they? And I was actually quite chipper that I thought, great, Ed's on it, Rate's on it, because I thought that does change it. You know, it doesn't then become just...
Some duds?
No, I just thought, you know, sometimes it does feel like that. Oh, God, I'm really insulting everyone now, aren't I?
You're not.
But it was actually great that we had a real array of characters, people from very different industries, and it made it very interesting, I thought. And what made it, and they're bitching at me about making their eliminators hard. What they're failing to realise is because they were getting so good, we had to make things difficult because... You know, it was a competition. We had to start losing people.
But
so.
you said something
the
to me.
croque-en-bouche eliminator. Yeah, you all know what
Wasn't
a
the proper
croque-en-bouche
one.
is.
It's a tiny little one, like 10 profiteroles, honestly.
It was unbelievable.
We had to do a croque-en-bouche from scratch
Also,
with spun sugar and choux pastry and fillet when they were boiling hot with cream. So they all obviously all the cream melts. Anyway,
Angela, though, said something really interesting to me about this, which I'd never thought of before.
About the croque-en-bouche?
No, about the eliminator. Which is that, you know, the first test was kind of your dish, which you cook at home. And the second one was, can you rustle something up out of the cupboard?
Yeah.
But actually, the eliminator, you said to me, if you run a Michelin-star restaurant, you have to know that your chefs are good enough that when any regular comes in, whether it's Monday lunchtime or Wednesday evening, that if they order that dish, it will be always done to the highest quality.
Consistency,
and therefore that test is something that is part of the training of a young chef.
Well, it's that thing that I was taught from day one that everyone always said to me, you're only as good as the last dish you cook. And it's one of the things you always say to the guys at the beginning of service. And it happened the other night. I went into one of the cafes, it was about 10 o'clock, and they put this dish up as a clam linguine. And I said, hello, is it linguine or is it clam linguine? Oh, we're running out, chef. So rather than say, you know, because they're in the heat and the panic or whatever, they say, actually, I don't have enough to do it, they just send it out. I said, right, we're not serving the person that comes in at 10 o'clock any different from what we serve the person at 7 o'clock. And that is what, you know, and that's the consistency. You know, and I think that is critical. It's the reason why I'm sure all of us shop at certain shops, go to certain restaurants, go to certain bars. It's about the staff. For me, consistency, I would say, was the mark and food 20 years ago when I first started cooking. Now, I'm sure if we did a hands up now, you would all say atmosphere, service and food. Food's not the priority. You want good food, but you also want to be treated properly, great service. And I think you want to sit in an atmosphere, whether it's either really loud. I'm afraid I'm getting to that age where I'm like, oh my God, this restaurant's so loud. I can't see the menu. Get the iPhones out. And you know, and it's like, you know, because I don't want to be screaming and shouting. I want to hear people, you know.
Turn the music down.
Exactly.
I thought all chefs screamed and shouted at each other anyway.
No.
By the way, you've left everyone on a cliffhanger. What did the person get instead of the crab linguine? I mean, clam linguine.
Oh, no. So then I get a manager down and I say, right, just say something, you know, just say, unfortunately, it's not quite as we want it. We're going to send something else. Can they choose or send them another pasta dish? So you send them something else, you know.
Okay.
But, you know, and then you end up comping the wine. You know, you compensate. But it was me explaining to this young guy, I said, why is that person any less important than, yes, chef. And it's like, you hope they learn that lesson for the next time.
The thing is, though, it was called Best Home Cook. And it was supposed to be about home cooking rather than all these chef skills. There was something which I hadn't anticipated at all until actually the first week, something you said. And Yvette told me afterwards, like a month afterwards, our kids were all totally against me doing the show. They'd said to Yvette, you are mad to allow him to do this.
Yeah.
They said Strictly was fine because he was obviously no good at dancing.
We accepted Strictly, Dad, but honestly, the
best home
cooking
cook, they said, because he's quite good and he cares. And if it goes wrong, he'll be really upset and it would be a real blow to his esteem. Don't let him do it. So then I decided for the first week for my choice to do lasagna.
Yeah.
And it's like my mum's lasagna, which she taught me like in the 70s. And as I was doing it, you came round like you used to, and sort of slightly peered over.
You said cheddar cheese?
No, it wasn't
something
cheddar.
like that.
No,
mozzarella you put in, no?
No, I did with cheddar.
I thought only it was
my
the
mum's
cheddar.
lasagna. It is made with cheddar.
It's not, you can't make lasagna with cheddar.
Well, it's my mum's lasagna and it's made with cheddar. And you leaned over and looked at the pot and said, that's a bit loose. And I thought, well, and I suddenly realised if I'd gone up there and Angela Hart or Mary Berry had said,
criticised your
I
mum's
don't
lasagna.
like this lasagna, I would have said,
cried.
I don't care.
Yeah.
Because
Which he pretty much did when I said it was a bit, yes, it's my mum's lasagna. Very lippy was our Ed, very lippy.
Then we got into, my problem was in week 4, we had to do a roast dinner. I was going to do roast beef, but Yvette said, no, you should do roast chicken, because actually that's kind of more unusual what you do.
Yeah.
And in retrospect, I didn't know this at the time, but my youngest daughter was sitting there at the table at Sunday lunch going, and Yvette says, I think you should do roast chicken. And I'd made it that day to try it out. And as we poured the gravy, she said, this is fine, she said, it's how you always do it. But I think Mary Berry will prefer a lighter gravy. And then I said, really? She said, I just think she'll prefer a lighter gravy. I said, but I always do it this way. She said, I think she'll like it lighter. And again, our youngest daughter's there going,
No, yeah.
So we go into the and I do all my roast chicken, the Yorkshire puddings with roast chicken, very important, and everything had worked fine. And as it went up, and then there's the gravy, and as you poured it, you said,
bit pale.
I mean, I had fought so hard to stop the tin caramelising, keep it light, and there was onion and garlic and white wine in the tin, and you said, this is not really gravy. You said, it's more of a sauce. And then Mary Berry said, I totally agree. She said, I much prefer a darker gravy. I couldn't believe it. I fought so hard to make Mary Berry's light gravy. She likes a dark gravy. I went home that evening and said, disaster.
Thanks, Yvette.
It's called Gravygate.
Yeah.
Yvette said, it's my fault. I said, it's not your fault.
Yeah.
It's totally her fault.
Yeah, of course it is,
supportive.
But for marriage, one takes the hit,
And our youngest daughter just said...
But that's the great thing about Mary, is actually, she will always, pull me back and sort of go, Angela, it's home cook, if ever I got very restauranty or anything like that. And she was absolutely right to, but it was a great balance.
The thing I thought was interesting, though, was when in the first week, Rachel, I thought, was a bit sort of, there for a laugh. You're a bit there for a laugh.
No, not at all.
Messing around, chewing gum at the back of the classroom.
But as it went on, you got more and more into it.
She was very competitive,
and she got but also quite emotional.
Yeah.
And actually, you realise, especially in the final, that for you, the sort of family side of cooking was actually, I think it was more important than you thought it was going to be.
I guess. I mean, I think what I felt was, I wanted to do things that my mum used to do. Now she doesn't. She died in September, and she didn't cook for the last year. But I realised how much I missed my mother's cooking as I did that show, and how important. I mean, remember when I did my macaroni cheese as my home? What would I do if friends were coming round? Well, obviously you do macaroni cheese. I mean, people would fly across the Atlantic for my macaroni cheese. So I decided to do that. And when I did it, I did the size that my mother and I would have made, the dish. I brought the dish from home, and I think it was about that big. Do you remember?
Huge.
And you said, "What's going on?" I thought, "This is how much. This is how you." My mother used to say, you can never make too much. You can only make not enough. You mustn't ever make not enough. You must always make too much.
Generosity.
Yeah. So I mean, she would just make them. And honestly, she had 4 kids. I mean, Al, Boris, Leo, and Joe. I mean, and me. We ate. I mean, when we ate, we would eat. We would pull our plates up like that, and then eat the whole thing. So she was always making industrial amounts of food, and I felt that when I was cooking, because I can't ever make a little. I'd see people making a tiny amount, and I go, but hold on, you have 20 people, surely you need to feed. Anyway, luckily,
also,
though, the
your
good
venison,
news for
your
that,
venison was a bit like that as well.
I did take the macaroni cheese home, even though there were crazy COVID protocols.
Yeah.
And we did. I think.
And what did your kids say about your cooking?
Well, I do basic things, I'm not fancy. By the way, I mean, my idea of a birthday cake has got 3 ingredients. Maybe 4. Cocoa, crushed rich tea biscuits, butter, and golden syrup. I think that makes the best cake ever. You mash it all up in a saucepan, and then you put it in the fridge.
Yeah.
That's Mum's chocolate biscuit cake. They've asked for that every single year of their lives.
Fantastic.
They don't want a pirate ship, but you do. You obviously spend the whole day doing a pirate ship.
But that, as you just said, it's really important. I've done loads and loads of birthday cakes for our kids.
Yeah.
And some of them have been really successful. But the worst one ever, my son asked for, I'd done a bouncy castle cake and a rugby league pitch, Converse trainer, Moshi Monster.
The Coca-Cola one.
He asked for Coca-Cola cake.
I knew it.
And he asked for Coca-Cola cake, and it was so hard, I couldn't get any design. I'd built this can, and my mother-in-law went out to the shop and bought a bottle of Coke so that we could take the wrapping off and try and wrap it round. And then it started to go. It basically the Leaning Tower. And as we came out with it, my son, who would have been 9 at the time, he said, "Dad," he said, this is the best cake anybody's ever made. And the thing which you realise is, however bad it is, you've made it.
I know.
It's the emotion attached with it, and that's why, because your kids have been brought up having
Chocolate
that biscuit.
Exactly.
And they wouldn't want anything else.
It is like crack. It's very addictive.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I'm guessing, yes.
So for you, I mean, your cooking all comes from family.
Yeah, totally. And it's interesting you talk about the emotional thing. My grandmother was an amazing cook. My mother's mother was from Italy. My mum's a pretty good, well, actually she's a very good cook, my mum. But one thing my grandma could never do, she'd make bread, she'd make pasta, she'd do everything. But she was never very good at desserts, She'd make a creme caramel and that was about her lot. But my mum's very good at pastry, she loves a great apple tart, she makes a lemon meringue pie, that sort of thing. And my grandmother would always ask for this, and my mum would be like, because my dad died unfortunately when we were quite young. She'd be like, "Oh God, I've got to make this lemon meringue pie." And for the last few years, my grandmother's life, she didn't know it was going to be. She didn't make it. And the guilt, as we're Catholics, from my mum for years that she'd never made this lemon meringue pie. And then about 5 years after my grandmother had died, Mum made one. And my uncle was like, and I said, "What?" He goes, "Mum hasn't made one in 5 years," because it's his favourite dessert. And he goes, "I've been counting the days." She just felt so guilty. And I said, "Mum, we've got to put this to bed now. Move on. I know you didn't make it for Nonna in her last few years." But, it is that, and it's those... And to this day, we still cook together. Like, we went down the other week and I made the Jocelyn Dimbleby pastry she wanted for her mince pies. Because she's 87, so she's getting older with the rolling. So I did all the rolling out. My sister did the Christmas cake. Mum is now feeding it. So Anne will go down and do the icing. So, and I think cooking for me is as much about eating as it is doing stuff together. I think for me, and we all on Christmas Day, it's a massive family thing, and we all meet 2 days before, and everyone helps get it all ready, and then I just do the last bits on the day because I think I like the tradition that it gets passed on.
Have you done a Christmas cookery book yet?
No. To be honest, I think there's so many good ones out there.
Like who?
Well, Delia's I think is amazing,
of course.
And actually Jocelyn Dimbleby, if you can get hold of it, it's a great.
What is her pastry recipe? Why do you say Jocelyn Dimbleby's?
It's butter, icing sugar, flour and orange juice and zest, and that is really good.
Pies,
for mince pies.
I did my Christmas pudding this morning.
Look at you! Did you put a penny in?
I put £3 coins in.
God, the price has gone up, hasn't it? That's inflation.
Yvette wants them wrapped in tin foil.
In case.
I don't know why.
Oh, because of the method. Well,
I don't know, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
However, I actually, while we're here, I had to kind of go to a meeting. And the recipe, which I would normally do, you steam for 3.5 hours. Then you leave it for a month.
Right.
And then you steam for 3.5 hours. But I only had time to steam it for 2.
That's all right.
So, do you think I should do another 2 hours tomorrow and leave it for a month?
Yeah.
Or do you think I should just wait and do it for 6 on Christmas Day?
I would do a bit tomorrow.
Yeah.
Would you?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, one, then you've got less to do on Christmas Day, and 2, then you've done all it's the maturing in the next month that's going to be the key.
Why does it need to cook for 4 hours anyway?
I've no idea. I mean, honestly.
I was on the internet.
I think the best day is next day when you mix it with ice cream, personally. I mean, I just think Christmas pudding ice cream.
I'm going to do a Mary Berry smoked salmon terrine.
Wow.
That I will do 24 individual cheese soufflés.
What time do you get in the morning in the kitchen, Ed?
Soufflé.
And if you're free, can you come over to me?
You can do the soufflé mostly the day before, and then I'm going to do goose and turkey and then Christmas pudding.
Nice.
And the goose I'll do in the big green egg.
Oh wow!
Good place to, because you can slowly.
Can you do a turkey in the big green egg?
You can do a sponge cake in the big green egg.
I've
got
got
anything you like. You can be any kind of But
that's a really good idea.
on Best Home Cook,
Yeah.
I foolishly, for the eggs in the first week, decided to do souffles.
Oh,
And
yes.
then people wouldn't know this watching the show, but after we finished the cook, there's then a 2-hour wait
Yeah.
while they're photographed and there's a break. And then, so all of the judging you do is always cold.
Yeah.
What's
as
that
we-
like, Angela, though? Because I revealed that in a piece I wrote for the Times, and I thought maybe I shouldn't give away trade secrets, but all the cooking shows you see, MasterChef, all of them, you taste everything stone cold.
Pretty much. I think the only one that I judge that you don't is Great British Menu.
Is that right?
Because you literally get it there and you go straight through and you judge it there and then. But because we have to do a thing called, you know, when they do,
Pack
this is not
shots.
just M&S food, this is, and it's that swirling round through it, that's the pack shot, and they have to film it and make it look great, and it takes forever. And you can't have, if there's 12 people in the show, you can't have 12 different crews.
Yeah.
It would be a
Do you get used to tasting food correctly when it's cold, as opposed
Yeah.
to what it tastes like when it's hot?
Well,
You
look,
do, you understand it.
Angela does.
No, I know, but
And
I
I
can't
go up
imagine.
there.
Do
Chris
you remember-
Bavin says, this souffle is sunk. I said, of course it's sunk. It was cooked 2 hours
Yeah,
ago.
yeah,
What do you
Chris.
expect?
That's when you
Which
go,
kind of suddenly
Chris.
ruined the production at that
Shush,
point. We had to kind
Chris.
of cut.
Yeah.
and
But
start
what I
again.
don't know whether you realise this, but what we did do when there were certain things that we thought you've got to eat them hot. After you lot cleared, we'd walk round your stations.
And take a bit.
I'd just take a little slice away, just because I can't remember. Did you? Some of you do curries one day or something? You felt you can't eat that stone cold, so actually you're going to eat it a little bit warm while it's there, so you've got an idea of what it is.
Well, I was really upset about my macaroni cheese because, of course, when macaroni cheese is
Yeah.
cold, it congeals, whereas when it's hot, it's all lovely and gooey.
Yeah.
So I felt a bit upset about that. I
No,
have
but
to
we
tell
did.
you.
We weren't. We did compensate. We didn't mark. You know, I think
Back
we
on
were
Best Home
fair.
Cook. Tell us about Christmas, because you were just talking about it. If you were giving people here best advice for
Oof.
really good, innovative Christmas Day recipes, which they've not done
Innovative.
before.
It's a traditional day.
Okay, I'm just kind of okay.
All right.
I
Not
think.
innovative.
Well, one I would say less is more. I think this madness that Ed is doing,
love
which is
that. I
500. It's just, well, it depends. If you're up for doing it, then do whatever you want to do. But if you want to not spend all day in the kitchen, preparation the day before and less, make things that finish stuff off and actually do some cold stuff.
Go on.
We
What?
always do a cold red cabbage salad that I make the day before,
Good
slice it really thinly, slice beetroot in there. We do either a creme fraiche and horseradish sort of cream that goes on top, or we do just a great vinaigrette with some freshly grated apple. And you know, it's nice to have something fresh and it's
Yes.
cold on the table. Always, unless you're doing a soup, a cold starter, that would be my advice. So you can do that ahead again, and you don't have to worry about it.
Smoked salmon. What
Yes.
starters?
Yeah, something like smoked salmon. I know another great one is we do this thing where we call it leeks. We do this lovely like egg vinaigrette. Sounds not as great as it could be, but basically it's soft boiled eggs, chop them up, loads of chives in there, loads of dill in there, some mustard, Dijon mustard, capers, anchovies, and you basically pour those over the blanched leeks, and it's absolutely delicious.
What do you do for Christmas Day tea?
Oh my God, we're still eating about 5-6 o'clock. Well, I
know,
mean,
but look,
you know, we don't really do a tea. We tend to our Christmas days are from about midday-ish, where people gather. Then we do the lunch. Then we do presents. Then we do pudding. Then people either, some may go, some may stay. Then cards get out, the games get out. Then we do cheese. So 9-10 o'clock, we're still sort of finishing off.
this is a generational English thing, because my mum and dad
Generational English thing.
generational English thing. They were both born in 1938.
Yeah.
When we went on I remember going on a cruise ship with my mum and dad, and this announcement comes on the cruise ship: the midnight buffet is open. And my mum said, "I think we should get down there." And I said, "It's midnight. Why do you want to go to the midnight buffet?" She said, "Well, it's free."
I nearly.
Paid for. But they also had this view, which is you should always have. I mean, even when we have Christmas dinner at 3 p.m, my mum would then be thinking, well, of course on Christmas Day you have to have
Supper.
tea.
Yeah.
Always. It would have to be. It was every Sunday we had Sunday lunch and then Sunday tea.
But what do you have it?
Well, might have cheese on toast or Welsh rarebit
Right,
or
okay.
ham. And
So
then
you won't
cake.
necessarily have the leftovers
You
Christmas.
have that Boxing Day.
Boxing
you have
Day,
special
okay.
dedicated Christmas Day tea. But on ordinary Sundays, I mean, during the week we had like fresh fruit for lunch.
Yeah.
Sunday, special occasion, tin fruit.
Nice.
Tin peaches.
Lovely.
Or tin pears.
I love a tin peach.
I love a tin
Always
peach.
with
Cling.
carnation
Yeah.
evaporated milk.
Cling peach.
Yeah.
But on Christmas Day, only Christmas Day, fruit cocktail.
Nice.
The
Fancy.
it was the
With
only
those glacé cherries
with a
in
little
there.
glacé. It was the only day when
Yeah.
my mum
Squirty
ever let us
cream.
have fruit cocktails. So
Wow.
therefore,
Yeah.
so even
Yeah.
if you've had lunch at 4,
Yeah.
you know, 9
You
at
aren't
night,
going to miss
gotta
that.
have the fruit cocktail.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
love
this
that.
is. I mean, this is family tradition for tradition's
What
sake.
do you do on Boxing Day or Christmas Day? Do you do turkey, the whole shebang?
I'm tempted to cook my turkey in the big green egg. I
Oh.
can see that going very wrong. But not as wrong as it does if you try and put it in the Arga when the Arga goes off.
You know, in the States, they deep fry turkeys for Thanksgiving.
Do they?
I think
How
that
do
is
they deep fry
genius.
them?
It's basically getting Kentucky Fried Turkey.
But wait,
is
how
essentially
can
what you're
you
getting.
need
A
an
full
enormous
fryer.
They
fat
literally
fryer.
a massive thing,
Wow.
and then more people are actually in hospital on the 26th of November in the States because they've all got, you know, first-degree burns. But they do. My brother lives in New York, and I've said to him, 1 year we have to
What a
do
good
this.
idea. Do you think you coat it first with something like
I'm
a,
sure
like a
it's
crumb?
marinated and stuff, but I think because believe it, that deep frying actually cooks it so it's really moist and it comes out. A lot of people nodding. I feel there's a lot of people that have either
When we
tried this or eaten it.
When we did Travels in Trumpland, one of the groups we spent time with were these guys down in it was actually in Georgia, but they were kind of young rappers, but their side business was Thanksgiving turkeys. And out
Really?
the back, outside the house, was a line of like 12 deep fat fryers, and they basically did a production
do it?
line.
Yeah,
You just
yeah.
drop them in.
I didn't
Deep
make
fat
it up.
fried, and then it was an order and delivery operation.
Yeah.
So you could basically order from them, and they would, but it was all happened outside. They would
Yeah.
basically deep fry them and then deliver them.
Because they've got to be big, because turkeys aren't, you know, they're massive
Deep
things.
fries.
Yeah.
I'm slightly worried. We've done family and food.
I know, we haven't done any politics at all. Good.
No, I think we'll have
Go
to
on.
We have to do some before we start questions, or people will think
Yeah.
that there's a trade descriptions issue.
Yeah.
Don't look at me.
Well, Angela,
Yes, Ed.
how is politics impacting upon the restaurant trade at the moment?
Oh, God, how long we got? Well, staff shortages. To be honest, I don't want to really bang on about how everyone is woe is me, because I think there's a lot I can say about how I felt the government dealt with a lot of things in Brexit. Oh, Brexit for one, which for me is just a disaster for the hospitality industry, and two, COVID. But actually, I think as a government, we did get a lot. Our industry did get a lot of help. You know, the furlough scheme was incredible. You know, rates reduced. You know, if they keep the VAT at 12.5%, I'll be happy. So we did get a lot of kickback, and you know, a lot of great support there. We did push. Probably this time last year, we started a campaign to try and get a Minister of Hospitality, and we will still go on at that. You know, we're the third biggest employer in the country. You know, we bring billions to the exchequer. And one of the things, as Robin, who was spear campaigning this, sort of heading it up, was he said, the great thing about our business, we're a tap you turn on. You know, once the restaurants, hotels and, you know, hospitality in a sense is open, that is money coming in. You know, it's not like it has to be bought in advance and then, you know, it's 3 months before you get paid. You know, people come in, they buy a cup of coffee, they pay with it, you pay your bills, you do, you know, so it's instant money. But, you know, Brexit has caused, you know, I think everyone's probably felt the shortages, whether that's all Brexit or COVID. But the staff thing, I think, is our biggest thing. The switching that tap off for freedom of movement is, and not just actually in industries. There's a lovely shop, I don't know how many of you know, called La Fromagerie in Maryland. Yeah, Moxon, Maryland.
Street. Yeah.
And I popped in to see Patricia. This woman's been there for nearly 35 years. And an amazing employee. She's fantastic. And she's going, I can't get people. I cannot get people. And, you know, and she's not asking what I might be asking a chef in a Michelin star to do more hours and work a bit harder for not as much. You know, she's paying great money, good out, you know. So, and my brother's an economist, and I was like, and as he said to me, he goes, all right, why is your industry more important than nurses? You know, the care sector, you know, it's not just our industries that suffered because of that. I think it's a whole heap of, you know, industries.
As I said at the start, it's very important at a Strand Group event to find ways in which you can raise either Brexit, the story of New Labour, or central bank independence. Quite how we're going to get to central... The only thing I can think about central bank independence is the very first time we went for lunch with Eddie George, the governor of the Bank of England, straight after the election in 1997. We had this most amazing meal. He had a full martini before the lunch, a proper martini, and then he'd eat any vegetables, just roast beef, and amazing red wine from the cellar. And then they then came round. I mean, Gordon Brown was looking at me and Lord Nick Macpherson as we were drinking this red wine, thinking, "What are you guys doing?" But we were doing it for Treasury Bank relations. And then they then came round with
Chateau Petrus.
with this box of untipped cigarettes. Now, I mean, Eddie smoked a lot. I didn't smoke. Nick didn't smoke. But we thought, for the Treasury.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Gordon was just appalled. Gordon, though, so we've done Brexit, done Central Bank independence, the story of New Labour. I mean,
do we have to have that, Ed?
People know. No, we've got to relate it back to the subject at hand. People know that Granita was an important moment. But of course, it is revealing that Tony Blair, in doing the deal with Gordon Brown about the future of the country, chooses a restaurant over food to do this.
Yeah.
And because it's a power play, food always, there's quite a power in the setting of food. Decides to go for a shishi Mediterranean restaurant on Upper Street. Yeah. Gordon Brown has never been to
any shishi restaurant,
let alone Upper Street. And so, but this is the two of them getting together to strike this deal. We have discussed in the past the nature of that deal.
Yeah.
Was it about the succession? Was it about power sharing? Did they have a different conception of what had happened?
Yeah.
Gordon said to me, "You've got to come."
Yeah.
I said, "I don't really think that is appropriate."
Yeah.
Because it's supposed to be your tete-a-tete.
Yeah.
And he said, "No, honestly, you've got to come." And so we go in, and Tony Blair's
was
sitting
Mandelson there?
No, Mandelson was not there. There was just, I mean, actually, if you think of it now, they went for a private dinner in a restaurant in Upper Street and then were surprised it leaked. I mean, in the modern world of Instagram and Facebook and everything, it would have been publicised within seconds. But Alison Phillips, who's now a Telegraph columnist, was there, which White got in the diary. We go in, we sit down, and they bring 3 menus. I'm saying, I'm not eating. And the first thing Gordon Brown says is not to Tony Blair about the future Labour Party. He turns to me and says, "What exactly is polenta?" And I said, actually, I'm not sure if that's what polenta is. And Tony Blair ordered chipperones, like baby squid, baby octopus.
Yeah.
Gordon, I'm not sure. All I can tell you about the meal, because I then left to leave and get on with the conversation. And an hour later, an hour and a half later, I'd gone back to Westminster, and my mobile phone rings. I was with Charlie Whelan and Sunai in the Atrium restaurant in Millbank.
Yeah.
And Gordon says, "I'll be there in 10 minutes." Yeah. He said, "Order me a well-done steak and chips." So the only thing whatever was agreed, he didn't eat the food.
Yeah, nothing was eaten.
But it's the nature of politics. Are there famous people or famous political moments which have happened in one of your restaurants, do you think?
Oh, well, it's interesting. When we were at the Connaughts, we did have... There was obviously a lot of courting that I was completely oblivious to. But Gordon Brown one Sunday night was in with Murdoch. And there was always these tables that you sat people on that you knew they wouldn't be seen.
Right.
And so it was always table 35 in the far corner. And so you wondered, and then I think next week he was in with Andrew O'Neill, and you sort of think, oh, where's all this going on? And then, but one of the best political moments, or one of the slightly scary but sort of slightly ironic afterwards, is we always used to have Benjamin Netanyahu stay at the Connaught, and they would take the whole of the one floor when he stayed. And he happened to be in the Connaught the day of the bombings in, July, in that month in July.
What, 7/7?
7/7, yeah. And, and when Mossad's there, they're rigid. We had Tony Blair come in one time, and, the British security, we said, "Would you like anything?" "Oh, Angela, lovely." They sat down and had dinner. You speak to Mossad, and they're just like this. They just literally, earphones in. You'll go, "Excuse me," trying to get trays around them. Anyway, and so that day, I'd realised I got to the tubes weren't working, hadn't quite clicked, and was walked into work and something, and then realised when phone's going off what's going on. We get there, obviously there's no one in the restaurant. Very few people in the hotel. Mossad have closed down, obviously, around their Prime Minister. And at lunchtime, I walk up to the restaurant, and he's literally sitting near the window. And I said, could someone, given the fact that London's just been bombed, remove the Israeli Prime Minister from the prime spot in Mayfair, you know? And it was just like, who is looking after this guy, you know? So it's those sort of things that you just think, you know, it's slightly surreal, really, when you think back about things like that.
I mean, see, in the old days, it used to be the case that if a group of MPs got together and had a meeting, that would be seen as a plot.
Yeah.
So you would go to a restaurant because it wouldn't be a plot; it would just be you know, people going out socialising.
Yeah.
The consequence of which has become now, anytime you ever see any group of MPs socialising in a restaurant, you just assume it's a plot.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's turned full circle.
Well, you always used to have a lot of the MPs come into Cafe Marina St James, because obviously it's the top of sort of St James's Street. So we've always had quite a big show in there. But ironically, the only people that recognise them are me, you know, because most of my staff, and there's no disrespect for them, they're young and Italian and they really don't, you know. And so I'll walk in and go, oh, you know, there was Theresa May when she was Home Secretary, or you see George or whatever, you know. So it always made me, I'd go, do you know who they are? They go, no, chef, who is that? Who is that? Anyway, it is what it is.
And is the Prime Minister a foodie?
Not at all, no. Absolutely.
Is
He
he a
likes
chef?
food, though.
Is he a
No,
chef?
he has one dish which he calls Goski patties, where he just opens the fridge and he gets out oats and butter and cheddar and whatever else, and he chops it all up and he fries it. That's his idea of cooking.
Okay.
It's not
Lucky
good.
Carrie.
It's not good. I mean, everyone thinks that, you know, we sort of, I think education is entitlement now rather than money. So the fact that he went to Eton and I went to private school, everyone thinks we're posh, but actually, I know, whenever I say this, people just go, shut up. But my mum didn't take any alimony, and there was literally there were years when there was nothing in the fridge. And it's a sort of running joke that we used to eat the pickle.
Yeah.
And, you know, if there were peanuts in a jar, we were like, you'd see my brothers just like pouring peanuts into his mouth. And one year, Christmas time, and my mother had forgotten to buy a turkey. And it was literally Christmas Eve, and we lived just on the Portobello Road. She said, go out into the market and get something. So Boris, Leo and Joe went out into the market, and it was all closing down. And they had to walk all the way up the Portobello Road, and they found this halal butcher. And they didn't have any turkeys left. They didn't even have a chicken, but they found a capon.
Nice.
So this was fine, and it wasn't very big. But
How
we
many
brought
people normally
it was
eat
like,
a capon?
I don't know, but we ate the capon. It was absolutely fine. It was, you know, but you know, as you see, I can see that the story doesn't land because everyone just wants to think that
you were eating
all
caviar and
feather-bedded
lobster.
and we were being waited on with nannies and things. It just wasn't like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, it is the truth, though.
We believe you. No, we do.
So we've talked about family, food and politics
Yeah.
for 45 minutes.
God, that went quick.
And so we probably should see if anybody wants to ask any
So
different questions.
you've got Angela Hartley. I need to say that one thing. All Angela's recipes are absolutely superb.
Oh,
Do you remember all
thank
those
you.
eliminators we did?
They were really good.
I remember I would take the menu sheet home, and I've kept them all. They're all spattered and burnt, covered in tears. But they are the best, and including that lemon meringue pie recipe.
Yeah.
That was hot.
See?
Did you do
Is
one
that
as well?
your mum's famous lemon meringue pie?
That would have been a version of it, yeah, for sure, because we had to
Just
adapt it for
What
you.
was the Italian pastry we did?
We
Oh,
made
cannoli.
Cannoli.
We made cannoli.
I thought you put them in the oven with cheese, but there
No,
wasn't.
They
That
were
wasn't.
cannoli.
delicious with
Yeah.
orange zest.
Oh yeah, cannelloni is what
That's
exactly.
right.
That's
It
what
was,
it's
but it
thinking.
turned out to be deep fried
Yeah.
pastry.
Naples, you get them.
Piped. I mean,
Ricotta cream inside, very much
Yeah.
from southern Italy, really Sicilian, and they do them with
We
pistachio, chocolate, and vanilla.
I mean, it generally was the
Yeah.
case. We would actually look at these recipes and have no idea what it was.
Yeah, that's
And you got
good. We
35
achieved
minutes.
it. I'd be there going, my God, what can we give them? You're lucky. You're lucky the producer was there. I was going to go sometimes even. I said, let's get them to bone. They said, no, Angela, you cannot.
You
do
made
that."
us. You made us fillet a fish, though.
Yeah, I think so. But also, the other thing is, I think, as you said it, and I think what people like on cookery programs is something that they feel they can achieve at home. And the very fact you guys did that and felt it was unachievable, but then did achieve it, makes people think, actually, I can. Years ago, I did something on the Good Food Show, and I rolled out this sweet pastry, which is, is quite, if it's too soft, it sort of collapses. I went to line a tart, and it literally just fell apart on live TV. And so I just rolled it back up, added some more flour, and re-rolled it. And the amount of people that said, "Oh, thank God," it's all. And we are not. No one's perfect. No. We make mistakes. It's just how you adapt to them and learn from them. See?
Can I ask you a home cook question?
Sure.
To a chef.
Yeah.
If I'm cooking something, I never taste it.
Why do you not taste it? I don't believe that, Ed.
No, honestly.
Because your food was always nicely seasoned.
I'm just telling you.
Okay.
Because...
Might have to re-watch these series.
No, because I was always looking forward to the... Because I'm talking about it in normal life. I'm looking forward to the excitement of discovery.
Okay.
When you serve it up and we all sit around the table and you go in and you're thinking, is it going to taste good or bad? And if I've tasted it in advance,
it's quite a risky thing. I was going to invite myself round to yours for dinner one night, but I don't know if I will now.
I don't think I ever tasted any of the stuff I cooked on the
Really?
show. I just sort of, you just...
But you seasoned everything.
But
you knew them.
I just kind of knew.
Yeah.
I knew what I thought it should be.
Yeah.
But actually, it would ruin the...
That's quite an amazing thing to admit. I'm going to
let you into a secret. Before I started, Claudia Winkleman came up to me and she said, I'm going to help you. And I said, good. And she said, keep salt and pepper going. Season.
Yeah.
Did she tell you that as well?
No,
she
but
said,
you're completely right.
She said the judges have to taste so much that you've got to really punch it up with the seasoning.
We all stood around saying this because often Mary or Angela would say, it needs more salt.
Yeah.
And
we're
we
all
think, how can it get more salty?
How can it more salt than that? And actually, I think as a home cook, you salt less.
Yeah.
I think so. It's
chef.
interesting.
You
Yeah.
I think you wanted more salt.
No, but we have a window at Murano, one of the restaurants, people look in, and one of the things, if they see, they're like, oh my God, you season so much. I said, but was your food salty? They said, no. I said, yeah. It looks like we're seasoning heavily, but a bit like you know how much is going on it, and you know what it's going to come off.
Quantity,
yeah, exactly.
I've got a question for Angela. Where do you like to eat in London?
Oh God, so many places.
Is that a good question?
Yeah, Noble Rot, I think is great, and I think that's wonderful. I love St John restaurants. I like Richard Corrigan's, Bentley's, Sheiky's. There's a great restaurant called Cole. If you haven't been, a Mexican place.
Where's that?
Near Locanda Locatelli, north of Oxford Street. Is that north of Oxford Street?
Locanda Locatelli is good, isn't it?
Locanda Locatelli's great. I live in East London, so I love Brawn, I like Brat, I like all those sort of... Morrow I like, although I haven't been in a long time.
Just over the road from here, the Delaunay?
Love the Delaunay, great Negronis and great shizit.
This got boring.
Yeah.
It's got boring. Where do you go where you've been disappointed, or where would you not go to a restaurant?
Bugger off, Ed, I'm not answering that.
Isn't that
not a chance am I answering that.
Joking.
I'm not. Yeah.
We better
I mean, I could
questions.
tell you a lot.
Has anybody got any questions I'd like to ask Angela or any of the rest of us? Right there.
Well, I've got to do with the food, family and politics, and ask, why are school dinners still so shit? I mean, Jamie Oliver crashed and burned on it. Is it a lost cause? Because if we don't get school dinners right, God knows what children and adults are going to be like. And we know, really, because we look around. Why are they still so poor?
I would say no investment. When I was at school, at primary school, there was a school kitchen. We had a school kitchen. We had a fantastic chef, this lady. She was amazing. And she would make steamed chocolate pudding with chocolates, chocolate. I mean, the school dinners were phenomenal. And I think now they've taken I don't know if there are schools with kitchens anymore, but there are certain schools now that are really trying to push growing their own veg and all the rest of it. It's government funded. It needs to have a government initiative, I would argue, to actually, and I would say the same about hospital food, because having, had a husband who was seriously ill in hospital, when I saw what you're feeding someone to make them recover, given food is your nutrition, it was quite diabolical, really.
I'm going to give a counter argument to this, but it's not about schools and hospitals.
Yeah.
But it was really interesting. I did a whole day in working in the kitchen of the care home I worked with in Scarborough. And it never really made the cut because there's other things which had to go in. And the chef was called Laura. She was cooking for 44 people a day. She came in at 5 in the morning, did breakfast, went home and took her daughter to school, came home and then did lunch, and then I think she finished at 3. She had breakfast, lunch, and then cakes and tea for the afternoon. She was the only person cooking.
Yeah.
She did all fresh ingredients. Because I said, aren't you using pre-prepared ingredients? She said, it's too expensive. It's much, much more value for money. And she could do, the thing which is amazing about her is if you said to if I've said to her room 303, she could say gluten-free, semi-pulped, prefers a bacon sandwich in the afternoon to sandwiches.
Amazing.
She can do every.
She knew all her
she was doing ingredients. She could do 3 meals a day for £3.40 a head.
No, I could believe that.
That's amazing.
But you've got to have someone who's skilled to do that.
Be really good.
And they've got to know what they're doing.
But actually, you can do.
Yeah.
I mean, so although you're right that the money is important, it is important. Actually, the money isn't as simple as the cost of the ingredients.
No, it's about paying someone.
Exactly. If you pay somebody who's really good to do it, they can actually do it. Amazing value for money.
What was the food like? Was it good?
Oh, it's really good. I mean,
How did she do that every day?
I did on the day I was with her.
On her own.
She did that whole lot. On the day I was there, she was funny because she was quite touchy with me because she didn't think me helping was going to help. She was so used to doing this
had her systems,
on her own.
Sure,
she knew exactly what she was doing. But I made a sponge cake because she did a fresh cake every day. But then for lunch, we did, of the 44 people, not everybody had the fresh lunch. The fresh lunch was Friday, so it's fish and chips. And she did a fish fillet in a homemade batter and double cooked chips for 33. And she just and I did it with her, and it was and then in the freezer, if you were somebody who had pulped food, then she'd take out of the freezer the moulded fish and the chips and the peas, so that it looked like fish, chips and peas, but actually it was something, because every day she would cook too much, pulp and then freeze, so that you could, and it was and that actually was skill. And
not
you don't
wasting
pay
anything.
Proper chefs to do that kind of stuff. Then it's not as good.
But it is going to cost more. You're buying ready-made food you buy it from all these places.
She said she would, in the evenings when she went home, she'd do fish fingers and chips, out of the freezer for her daughter, because she didn't have time to do home cooking. But that cost more, and she couldn't do that in the care home because it couldn't add up. And so actually fresh, natural ingredients was more cost efficient.
But what was that hospital down Fulham Road?
Chelsea and Western.
Sorry? Marsden? Yes, Royal Marsden. There was a guy, in the BBC Food and Farmers Awards, they always have a category about who is cooking, I suppose in a way the care sector, but it's schools, hospitals, and this gentleman won it one year, and how he changed it in hospitals is they got rid of all the concessions. So there was no Costco, there was no M&S, there was nothing in the lobbies. Everything was made in-house. So when you bought that cup of coffee, that money went to then making the food for the patients. And then all the doctors and nurses, everyone fed from the same thing. There was everyone was encouraged, to basically, if you wanted to buy a sandwich, that's fine. That money then went into it, and we made that sandwich. And and I think there is a model.
There is a model.
And it's just finding it and getting it. And in a way, a similar
skill
thing.
And leadership.
It does. And
if you think of what you do and how you deliver a kitchen, it's actually in a different way. It's hard to do that for a care home for 44
of course,
people.
Yeah.
But if you pay people, less than they'd be paid to be a nursing orderly in the hospital, then.
And sometimes, again, it's less is more. Don't do a menu like this in hospital. Do a menu of 2 dishes, one that, in a way, focuses all your allergens, if you like, make it vegan, gluten-friendly, and then do, if you want, a meat or a fish. But do 2 things brilliantly rather than 20 things badly.
It sounds like Gordon Ramsay's just arrived.
God, sorry. That's a good thing in that thing.
Gentleman there.
Family first. I've been married for 40 years to a lady from Australia, from Brisbane, and Queensland has some of the finest seafood you can wish for. Tremendous. Now, she hates fish. I love fish. She hates the look of it. It's got a head and a tail on it. She hates the smell of it cooking. She hates the smell of it after it's been cooking, if I try and do it that way. And she hates the taste of it. Now, I don't think at this range it's a relationship breaker, but you never know. So I just wondered whether the 3 of you had any advice about how, even now, I might actually produce a plan to make my wife at least tolerate, if not love, fish.
Would she eat a fish cake?
No.
So, I mean, the problem I've got is that my granddad was a butcher, my mum was a butcher's daughter, and she never ever cooked fish, ever, my mum at home, because you know,
Why would
it
you?
was all about meat. And so I'm very inexperienced in fish cooking. But I actually think the thing I like to do, if you're doing a souffle, is you get some smoked haddock and poach the smoked haddock in milk with a bit of bay or whatever, and then you put at the bottom of the ramekin some the flaked haddock with some little bit of cream, and then use the smoked haddock milk to make the roux for the to make the base for the souffle. And so you don't have any of that head, tail, but it infuses and it actually feels texturally like you're having a souffle. But actually, when you get to the bottom and the surprise of the haddock with the cream, by that point you've had a very fishy experience without any of the downside. That might work. What do you think?
I think that could work. Yeah, I was going to say like not cockaliki, Cullen skink. You know, the Scottish soup with the smoked haddock and the potato and leeks. And again, you could hide the fish. Normally you would keep a bit of the flake fish as the garnish with the potatoes and the leeks. But actually what you could do is blend it all with the cooking with the milk and the water. So the soup base is fishy. But actually, if she's scurrying around trying to find it, there'd be none there. No evidence. Just be the potato and the leek. But yeah.
Fresh
my
sardines
recommendation is my son Oliver says he hates fish, but I've pointed out to him for many years he's eaten fish fingers with Heinz tomato ketchup, not knowing they were fish. So I would go with that.
What did you call them then? Just fingers?
Fish.
We had a question here.
Yeah.
And is there one more person who'd like to ask a question over there? Lady there. So?
How is Yvette's new job going to change your life?
Good question.
How's Yvette's new job going to change my life? I think that the biggest change it will make is that I'll have to.
Tell her congratulations.
I think I'll have to think that when I cook, I'll need to make sure these are dishes which are good to be reheated. Because I have a feeling that it's going to be me and my daughter. It's going to be more late nights and early mornings. I think that will be that'll be one change. I mean, there may be other consequences. But
Didn't you say no, by the way?
What to what?
Like if they say ask you into the shadow cabinet or the cabinet, are you allowed to go no?
Why would you?
Of course you. Well, you can't. I mean, it's unpaid. In fact, you know.
She's taking a pay cut because she's losing her job as the chairman of the
you can say
committee.
No.
Yeah.
People do say no. But
yeah, I mean, if you're a politician, no, but if you're a politician, I would presume you want to get far in politics. You're not going to say no.
And often there will be a negotiation, and it all depends upon, you know, the position of the leader, your strength, where the election is, what the polls say. So sometimes you can negotiate, and sometimes take it or leave it.
Okay.
Lady there.
I would like to know, what is your emergency meal? So kids are hungry, something's gone wrong with the planning, you've got to whip something up really quickly. What's your go-to emergency meal?
Pasta pesto with toasted pine nuts and lardon and loads of parmesan. Honestly, I could eat that much.
Well, I was going to say pasta like tomato sauce, tin tomato.
Yeah.
Not make a tomato sauce with olives, capers, anchovies, loads of chilli, spicy tomato sauce, or cheese on toast. I'm partial to a cheese on toast.
Yeah,
do like that.
Wrong.
I think it would be pasta as well. But what I would do is I'd cook some sausages, slice them in the pan, throw in garlic and chilli, a bit of olive oil, cook your pasta, throw that in as well, because, you know, it needs a bit of meat in there, doesn't it?
Nice.
I would say. That's what I would
Says
do.
the butcher's grandson.
There's another one over there. Gentleman there. Yeah.
Yes, I wanted to go back to the bit that you said about plotting. So is there a place where you can reliably plot these days? Is it an anachronism? If it is, what year did it sort of become impossible?
I think that's really interesting. I think in 2006, Tom Watson thought a Balti in West Bromwich would be okay, and he was wrong. And so that tells you that even by that time, you know, anywhere which felt a long way away and ordinary and kind of everyday, I think these days there's nowhere.
Probably since social media, no, where people can or probably before
on your
then.
WhatsApp group.
Yeah.
But these days, the things people put in WhatsApp groups.
Yeah, I know.
Astonishing.
Ed, should we finish there?
We should.
We've got time.
Should we do one more? One more? If not, no. I think it's always good to exhaust the audience. One more here, go on.
Politics and so if the current main political parties were each a dish, what dish would they be? Let's do Labour, Conservatives, Lib Dems, and the SNP.
Oh, crikey. True colours are going to come out now, aren't they? Yeah, it's face.
Thanks, Mary. Are we out of time, John? Ridiculous question. We're out of time. Unanswerable.
Yeah.
All right, okay.
God, that was a good question.
How can we?
That's a really...
Okay.
Because then it becomes your anything you dislike, doesn't it?
I know that there's a slight. I mean, the thing is that I keep thinking of answers and then realising
Yeah,
they're
don't
not
do it,
appropriate.
don't do it.
Yeah.
I'm desperately avoiding saying the
You've
wrong
got to
thing.
say something about our books because I've got to run quite soon
Well,
after.
that's what
Oh,
I was
right, okay.
trying to do.
Okay,
you see,
fine,
because
fine.
we could carry on.
Yeah,
couldn't
no, we
could
obviously
for a
could.
Okay, what a lovely evening. There's a drink for everyone, and there's books to be signed, all three. So do come and join us. Thank you for a lovely evening.
Thank you.
Ed, Angela, and Rachel.
Thank you very much.
Don't you know what my book is? It's so weird.
What is it about?